Thank you for such a sobering but sadly realistic appraisal of where we're at coming up to November 5, and who knows how many days after, but it's going to go on. But I mean,
3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you made the point about California, which, but I mean, California, of course, was operating. I mean, how is the new makeup of the Supreme Court? Does that have any effect on the balance between the states and what Trump might or might not do if he wins?
Well, obviously, the Supreme Court is critical. Typically, Republican Supreme Courts are very sympathetic to state rights.
Yeah.
But this Supreme Court doesn't believe in the rule of law.
Yes.
Even though they're supposed to be enforcing it, and everything is seen through a political lens.
Yeah.
So to the extent that they follow their natural ideological presuppositions, which is allowing states more freedom,
Yeah.
the Clean Air Act, which is what is defining, gives them the right to delegate this to the state. But they may rule differently, just like they ruled that the Clean Air Act doesn't cover CO2 emissions in a remarkable decision that says that it's called the major doctrines, major issue doctrine, which says that if it's something important, you can't delegate it because Congress would have explicitly dealt with it. Well, the whole point of delegation is that you don't know what the future is going to bring, but there are some real bad things out there. We all agree that we don't want pollution.
Yeah.
And let experts decide what are the elements of pollution. That's why you delegate it. And CO2 is a bad pollutant.
Yeah.
So I think everybody, legal experts outside the Supreme Court and the extreme Republicans say that that was a major flaw, a major mistaken decision. But again, this Supreme Court, everything is seen through political lens.
Andreas.
Yes, if I may, in many respects, much of your academic work could probably be captured by the phrase that perfect is the enemy of the good. And I'm wondering, both in terms of the IRA, whether that is, in some sense, the best that the Biden administration could do under the conditions that it existed, and whether we might have similar problems in terms of the EU with the backlash now, in terms of finding solutions that might not be best, but might be the best we can, given those conditions. And also link it to the democracy issue, because China had the advantage of a kind of much more centralized system in terms of decisions being taken to the center and being able to plan, whereas democratic institutions, if we follow what Acemoglu and Amartya and you have said, are ultimately key to long-term success, the timeline for climate change is short. Can we get there?
So I think the IRA was the best that they could do and I supported the IRA.
Yeah.
But as an academic, one of our jobs is to push government to try to do better. And that's what civil society, the press, needs to be engaged in. So, if you had asked me, would I support the IRA? It was clear. Some American economists said no, and my view was they were making the mistake of the perfect being the enemy of the good. So, but what I've been trying to outline is where we ought to be going.
Yeah.
And normally you say we have time. There's a kind of urgency here, and that worries me. I think the consequences we will have to play catch up, and that will be costly, and it will be more costly. You could say, well, it's just money, and
so you do have the privilege of printing your own money. That's
but I mean, so we will have to spend more, and I think because we've delayed in, and our economy will be weaker. We'll have more damage. We're spending more money having to repair the damage in Florida rather than making creative investments that would make our economy stronger. I mean, you can see how much money we're going to have to spend in repair in Florida, and what it's doing to our insurance industry. So it's very clear how damaging the delay is. Now, the final thing is, I think a really interesting question. Can democracies have vision that are comparable to those of somebody like China or Korea during its phase? I think the answer is yes. There have been economies that have had vision. Some of the Nordic countries have had vision, and they've gotten ahead of the game. So it's not impossible. The problem in the United States, we saw the issue. Al Gore had the vision. He was vice president of the United States, and he brought it to the attention. He made a global campaign out of it. So you can have vision. The problem with democracies, and it's the problem in autocracies, because there's no really autocratic. There are always pressures, is special interests. The coal industry doesn't want the green transition. Just a little story. When I was member and chair of the Council of Economic Advisors under President Clinton, we saw this coming. I was on the IPCC, and we were, one of the things that we wanted to do is to bring this more to people's attention, is to construct a green GDP that would reflect in our measurement of how well we were doing what was happening to the environmental degradation and resource depletion. And we got the Department of Commerce to go, which is a bureaucracy, to go along with us, and they were working on this. And then Congress got wind of this, and the congressman from the coal state said, if you continue doing this, we're going to defund you totally. We knew then we were doing something important.
Yes.
But we couldn't do it.
Sadly, Joe and Andreas, I think time is against us.
Again.
And I think that's been tremendous. Thank you very, very much. And all these things go back in time as well, because you think that the WTO, I think it was the Republicans who refused to allow the judges to go through to the arbitration panels in the WTO, which really the US one. So it basically paralyzed the WTO.
Exactly, but unfortunately, it has continued under Democratic administrations, and that goes to the point you meant, the Trumpization. The one side makes the other side scared to take the appropriate action, and that is really part of the dilemma that we're in right now.
Well, we admire your courage, you see. You're a great voice for liberal economics and civilization in the world. So thank you very, very much indeed. Andreas, have we...
Just one thing I want to say. I don't know if you'll fit, but you're all invited tomorrow to the University of Athens, National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. which at 7 o'clock will honor Professor Joseph Stiglitz with an honorary degree. So there you go. Thank you.